Welcome back to Wax Pro Uncut, Season 2, Episode 3. I'm Erica,
And I'm Rachel.
and we are going to continue on with our client horror stories.
Client learning experiences is what
That's
we're going to
way
call them.
better.
And now, like the last two episodes, just a quick disclaimer. These episodes are meant to just shed light on the industry and all the crazy things that you'll see. You know, we value our client relationships so much. And so this is not meant to be disparaging in any way or make fun of, but really just shed light and expose the things that you will potentially see in the wax suite as an independent waxer. So we can get right into it.
Right to it. What's first in line?
Well, first in line is clients that laugh uncontrollably like psychopaths.
That happens.
It happens. And it's like, it's unsettling because, you know, it's a very vulnerable state, right? So people are undressed from the waist down and or just like trauma response, pain reaction. Like
They're nervous.
The people are nervous. Yeah. And so we said in the last episode, like sometimes people fart when they're nervous or they laugh. And I had people like when I'm doing a Brazilian and laying a strip and they're like, oh my gosh, that tickles. And they're, you know, acting like weird. And it's your job as the professional to handle it with tact and to just let them know like, this is normal. This is a normal response. The laughing, I'm fine with, although it's like kind of creepy. It feels very like Joker-esque. The screaming is something else.
For sure.
You know, when you're in your own salon space, like it's fine. Me personally, when I'm in a salon setting, I have a room within a salon and I don't really care if other people can hear because it's like there's blow dryers going and whatever. But the client can be very embarrassed. So it's good to tell them this is normal. Like no one can hear you. You know, you brush it off and you kind of keep them at ease in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But know that is a scenario that will come up.
It can come up. Also, just like a reminder, like all the room extras to make them comfortable. You know, you have a fan going because usually if they're like laughing hysterically, that's a nervous response. They're typically sweating more. So the fan helps with that. The music, right? Just to kind of like muffle. If you need to turn it up just a couple notches, you can do that. So just be, you know, proactive in your approach with your clients and make them feel comfortable. Like it's totally normal to have a response. You are literally yanking hair
out of their body,
out of sensitive parts at that. So there's just like a lot of nerves going. So being understanding of what they're going through. We spoke about like being on your menstrual cycle and being like hypersensitive. So those are all factors that come into play. And even like caffeine, it just makes you a little bit more jittery and like antsy. So, you know, letting them know beforehand to try to avoid that. So yeah, just being a professional all the way through. And uncontrollable laughter can happen. Uncontrollable responses can happen, like grabbing you. Let's talk about that.
Yes, the grabbing. I have had one that comes to mind in particular. She was a first-time guest Brazilian. You know, I laid the first couple strips and like she was reacting pretty aggressively, you know, screaming, cussing, doing the laughter thing, or like the turning it back on me of like, you like this, don't you? Oh, I bet you think this is funny. And I'm like, I'm just doing my job. Like, I know that you're uncomfortable. And I think it's like humor gets a lot of people through in ways, but I'm like, I'm not like some masochist. Okay. Yes, I'm doing this because I enjoy it. Like, this is my job and I'm a professional. So that accusation I don't take lightly. But just, I don't know, the response from certain clients can be jarring. Mm-hmm. And how you handle it is super important.
Right. I've had someone that like I pulled the interlabia strip, which is a really hard strip. And especially because this person had very coarse hair. So like, I know that because like I can relate. I have dark, coarse, curly hair at that. So like, I am totally empathetic. That's why you absolutely need to get wax. If you are providing that service, you need to know what your clients are going through. But she grabbed me when I pulled the strip. She went on my arm and like dug her nails.
Yeah.
She's like, bitch, and grabbed me. She said that. And I was like, uh-oh. You know, I like kind of was scared for a second that she was going to get violent on me because she was so aggressive about it. And then she like let my arm go and she was like, and I was like, okay, like just relax. Just relax. If you feel like you need to grab something, I gave her a towel. I was like, here's a towel. I keep towels in my room because I do provide other services where I have that. I was like, here you go. You could grab that. You want to bite it, whatever you need to do. But usually it's just about education,
Mhm.
right? It's like your hair is coarser right now because you're a first timer. So the more often you come in, the thinner your hair gets, the easier this gets. So it's a really good opportunity for you to educate them on consistency and
Mhm.
coming in at the right frequency. Um, Obviously, there's going to be a line you have to draw. Like if someone is violent with you, like you know they're violent with you, or they want to take it out on you after, which has never happened to me. But customer service number one. But you have to be safe.
Safe for sure. So the story I started to tell and I got lost kind of in that was I laid the strip and this woman is like screaming and yelling at me and she grabbed the back of my shirt. So she was holding on to the back
And
of
she wouldn't let go.
my scrub top. Yeah, and wouldn't let go. And I was like, I'm going to have to ask you to keep your hands to yourself. And, she played it off like, oh, I'm so sorry, girl, whatever. But like, you can't physically touch me because you're uncomfortable. So yes, drawing this line in the sand of like, that's not okay. If you can't keep your hands to yourself, we're going to have to end the service. And I've had plenty of people that come in, they book a Brazilian and I end up only doing a bikini line. Like if I lay the first couple strips, those outline strips, and I pull 1 and 2 and you're freaking out and screaming, cussing, crying, then maybe you can't handle the whole thing. Or maybe we shouldn't do the full Brazilian. We leave a strip or a triangle in the front.
Mhm.
If your pain tolerance is here, we need to work with here. Like I'm not going to keep pushing and like you've got to stay on track. So one of the next things we want to talk about is clients that ask like, hold on, I need a second. And we book ourselves in a way to maximize our income, right? So we have time slots for every client and we have to stay on track. Now there's things that happen outside of our realm of being able to control, like they show up and they need to use the restroom or there's no parking or whatever. They're late. There was an accident. But within the appointment time that you can control, if you have a client that is asking for time, break time between strips,
Mhm.
that is not something that I provide.
Mhm.
I got to keep it moving. Like
Right.
I lay a strip, I pull a strip. I lay a strip, I pull a strip. If you need like, again, talk about tact, how many ways, but of like, I can give you a second, let me powder you. This one is going to be an easy strip, but you cannot fully halt the service to give them a minute. I was just telling Erica my analogy of like, it's like when you're at the club and your feet hurt. If you take your shoes off and then you put them back on, it hurts more.
Yeah.
So you need to just keep your shoes on
Mhm.
and get out
Be
of
a
the
big
club.
girl. You wear them
You
heels.
wore them in, you're going to wear them out. I don't have time to stop. I'm going to just keep waxing you. And if you can't handle the pain, fine, but I can't finish the service. I can't give you a Brazilian if you need a 5-minute intermission to wait to pull the next strip. And if we've got wax laid on these people, it's going to crack, break, not going to remove the hair. Like it's just, it's bad all the way around. Like
Right.
you have to complete the service in a timely manner, no matter what.
Right.
So
We're not in the business of inflicting pain. We're not in the business of convincing you to continue on with the service. Like we have to be on the same page that yes, this is a good service for me. I want to continue on. But also I want to talk about people who want breaks for like non-pain related things. Like I've had a client that's like wants to check their phone,
oh, my phone's ringing.
sits
Hold on, I need
up,
to get that.
right. Or they tell you to while they're taking a
On a
business call
Yeah.
in the middle of a service. Like, people like that, you just have to be really, really professional and communicate with them. Like, I only have 15 more minutes with you. Do we need to reschedule? I'm happy to reschedule. Have an opening at this time later to finish. Or setting the expectation to begin with.
I mean, I tell people a lot of once they've seen me for the first time, I'm like, I book in 15-minute increments. Like my Brazilian is 15 minutes. If you are late, you cut into that. If you cut into that, you cut into my next client. And so you're not just screwing me and I'm running behind and I'm stressed, but you're forcing me to give my next client a service that they are paying for in full at not my full capacity. It's not fair. So in the beginning, there's a lot of like, you got to figure out, you probably need to give yourself more time. Or I have clients on my book that I purposefully book 30 minutes extra, or I give them a 30-minute slot instead of a 15 because I know they're always late and I charge them more. Like you are eating up my time and that's not okay.
Yeah. Also, we talk about this in our curriculum. There's a section about upholding your policies. So your late policy being one of them. And so I give an example there and I'll give it to our viewers here is like, if you have someone who's always late, notoriously late, I'm not talking about one minute.
time. No, right.
or
Yeah.
one time.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like they're 8 minutes late into a 15-minute appointment. Like we're not magicians. Is having some strategy and booking them 15 minutes later, like on your books. So, you still tell them the same time, 3 o'clock, because they're going to get here at 3:07, but they're actually booked at 3:15. If you use a strategy like that, just make sure that your alerts are off for that person because they're going to get the alert for 3:15.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell them, you could do a manual confirmation like, hey, see you at 3 o'clock. And that's kind of like you manipulating your books a little bit so that you can in turn finish on time, not run into the next
Right.
customer, et cetera. So
Yeah.
there's definitely ways to go around that.
I think it's like very important, again, talking about client relationship. And I'll tell them if I have a client that wants to get in and I'm doing them a favor, going to squeeze them in, and I let them know I could take you at 3, but I have a 3:15. So you need to be here at 3, or you need to be here at 2:55. And if someone texts me and they say, I'm running late, I'm just up the street, is there any way that I can push back 15 minutes, and just be completely honest? Like, actually, no, like my next one is here and waiting. And you have to uphold this integrity of your client relationship with every single client, not just the ones that you love. And you're like, okay, I'll do you a favor. Like, it's fine, come. But it matters, because then your next one, this just happened to me. Like, I had a longtime client who I love and adore, and she takes super good care of me. She was late. I had a first time client after her. And what happens is then my reputation meeting this first time client, I look like shit. And I'm like shaking her hand, like, thank you so much for waiting for me. I apologize for keeping you waiting. My client before you was running late. She doesn't care. She was here on time. She was here early waiting for me. And I look like the asshole because she sat there. And I took this woman that I have, built rapport with, which is fine. But like, then it makes me look bad to the next one. So whether that's a new one or just somebody else, but they still are paying clients that deserve your full attention and time. So
Absolutely. And so you also have to use like your problem solving skills during scenarios like this, because you got to look at your book quickly and realize, okay, all right, my next one is a lip. I could
Right.
tell her, hey girl, I'm running 5 minutes behind. So sorry. Is that going to be a conflict? No, it's fine. I'm actually running 5 minutes behind too. And it ends up working out sometimes, but you got to know when there's wiggle room and when there's not. When my next client's a full leg, I'm sorry, like this is it. We might have to schedule for another day. And that's okay too. It is okay if you're like, I am so sorry. My next client's at 3:30. It's 3:22. You're not here yet. Can we
can't do all
reschedule
your
you?
services
Yeah.
or whatever.
Can we reschedule you for another day? And sometimes they're like relieved. They're like, oh my gosh, yeah, because there's so much traffic. Thank you so much. Can I come tomorrow? I'm so sorry. And then for some reason, not for some reason, it's obvious. Sometimes they just tip you more the next appointment. They're like, I'm so sorry about that. It happens. Human error happens. People, run late at work. I know that happens to me. I think I'm going to be off of a call at 4 and it's 4:15. I'm still on the call and I'm like, oh my gosh. Right.
have
And I
somewhere to
can't
be.
even call you to
Yeah.
tell you, hey, I'm late. Right. So we have to have some room for error, but at the same time, like keep yourself on track. Yeah.
Well, and I think just to like kind of circle back about talking about people being late, there's this funny, when we have 15 minutes of time with these people, it's such a short amount of time.
It really is.
And if you have someone, like I have the people that they're 5 minutes away, but they're still 10 minutes early. They're like, hey girl, I'm so sorry. I'm probably going to get there at like 1 after. And then they show up still 5 minutes ahead of time. You're like, I love you. Like, thank you for checking in. I appreciate you. And then you have the clients that are 8 minutes into their appointment. You haven't had a text from them. You see your next one sitting there and you're like, what do I do? I always proactively text the one that's late and say, my next one is here. Did you forget about me? Like however I worded of like, hi, just checking in, because I hate when I then take my next one back and the one that's late walks in.
Yeah.
And so you have to check in and be like, hi, Amy, I had you at 3. It's 3:08. My next one's here. I'm going to take her. Text me back and let me know if you're on your way. I can switch your appointment time if it works and if you're comfortable with that. But that feeling of like, then you walk Amy out, then your next one's here. And then you've got Trish from 3 sitting there thinking that she's still going to be taken. And you're like, you missed your appointment. Like, what? I'm sorry, you were super late.
Right.
And they don't even text you and be like, couldn't find parking, got stuck in when I had an accident or whatever. There's always a million and 10 excuses, but.
Right. If you are not a service provider and you're just a client, I hope you like pick up on some tips. Just
Be on
communicate.
time.
We can seriously make a lot work if you just let us know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm like super stuck on the 10 right now. I'm so far away. I totally understand if you can't see me. we could probably switch some appointments around. I've called clients and been like, hey, I had a cancellation. Can you come
Can
in
you go
earlier?
Yeah,
They come in earlier, and then I could get you in at the time that you can arrive. So just let your esthetician know what's going on.
100%. This next one is kind of funny. This is a girl that we used to work with, but a waxer at said chain. And, you know, when we had downtime, and even now in my personal schedule, like if I have downtime, I'm going to wax myself. Like if I see a 30-minute gap and I need my Brazilian done, I do it. But knowing how far to push those limits. And again, staying on track for next clients. So this girl that we used to work with, she went to do her own Brazilian. She gets paged that her next one's here. She has wax on her butthole, like waxing her butt strip. Panics, like freezes, can't wax it. She's like so nervous about pulling the strip. So she pulls her pants up and she goes and she takes her client and she waxes her whole client with wax in her own butt strip.
That's real life.
And so just making note of like, when is the appropriate time? Either come in early to wax yourself, know that you have plenty of room, like an hour, not 15 minutes, you know, that you're not going to be interrupted with a paying client waiting for you. And then you have to panic pull or just pull your pants up. And
this is an instance where you don't push it to the limit.
No. God, no. And then we've also had clients that decide to wax themselves at home. The text of like, oh my God, it's like 9:30 p.m. on a Sunday of like, I thought I could wax myself and now I have wax stuck. Like, what do I do? I heated wax up in my microwave and I think I burned myself. So what do I do? What wax do you recommend for me to wax myself at home?
What product do you use to take off the wax that's stuck on my
How do I get wax out of my inner labia? And these things where I'm like, serves you right.
I got a picture one time of one of my clients' husbands that she tried to wax with one of those like strips that you heat up in the microwave, and it looks like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Literally, I mean, it was like 4 layers of skin, maybe more. It was so raw. And she's like, what do I do? I'm like,
pray. I don't know.
Urgent care.
Yeah,
like I'm not a medical professional.
No, and I'm also not going to take on the liability of telling you how to handle you doing a service that you should have paid a professional to do. We'll have clients that come in and they go, what kind of wax do you use? Which I don't really mind answering that question. But if you're a non-esthetician, like, why are you asking? And I always say they're professional products that you have to have your license in order to buy. Well, what do you recommend that I could buy on Amazon? I'm like, I'm not going to give you
that's a liability.
A reason to, one, not come to me, and two, some shitty stuff that I can't stand behind. Like, you want to buy the crappiest stuff that you can buy on Amazon and heat it up in the microwave where you don't have a controlled temperature and you don't know how to pull it, and then you don't have aftercare procedure. Like, there's no reason that you should ever be giving advice outside of like, here's what I use to fill in my eyebrows if I don't retail it, or if it's something like, you know, an exfoliation that you don't carry, that like, this would be my recommendation. But you're never going to tell people how to do your job
or how to treat an issue that they created themselves.
Yeah. So this next story is, we had this woman that had come in kind of for a few years. She saw a bunch of different waxers and she was a bodybuilder, like big time. I have never seen another woman look like this woman.
Yeah, she was solid.
It's actually like insane that she got her body to do what it did. But, you know, we all waxed her one by one, and her Brazilian is crazy. So what you need to keep in mind when you have bodybuilders in general, men, women, whether you're doing Manzilians or Brazilians, but the way that any sort of testosterone replacement therapy may affect the body, or steroids, or just supplements. They can cause the body to do different things and look a different way. So this particular woman had a very enlarged
proportions.
Yes, lady bits.
Lady wood.
And again, just the same thing of like knowing it's something that's out there and preparing yourself for it, because there was sort of a shock value to it of it's just not what you were going to expect. So professionalism in the room, and that it is something that you may see.
100%. I was in that industry for a while, and I had seen some stuff like backstage when I was doing competitions and whatnot. And that's when I first kind of realized that was like happening. It's a very taboo thing. It's something people just won't talk about because it's embarrassing, especially as a woman, to have that sort of enlargement or unproportioned lady bits, as we said. But nonetheless, it all comes down to anatomy, period, point blank. So if they have female anatomy, you wax using that technique. And if they have male anatomy, then you wax using that technique. Any enlargements or, um, you know, just proportion, I don't want to say differences, but it is.
Yeah.
Proportion differences.
Well, and so this kind of
Treat
leads,
it normally.
yes, into our next thing that we want to talk about of, there's a giant trans community and we love the trans community, and you get to decide again what it is that you're going to wax. But when you have a trans woman that calls and wants a Brazilian, but comes in and the actual genitalia is different than what you booked the service for, it requires a level of tact and professionalism to stand by your policies of, if I booked you for a Brazilian as a trans woman, or I didn't know because you booked it online, or you come in and you present yourself as a woman and you take your pants off and you have male genitalia, and I don't do men's waxing in that, like intimate men's waxing, that this is, not a level of discrimination by any means of, I just am like not trained to do this.
Right. And so I will reword it only because this hits home for me, because I had a scenario, and this was several years ago. This was really before the trans movement. And again, to me, I'm like Rachel. I love the trans community. I'm not, keen to any one type of identification. To me, it doesn't matter your sexual identity, your actual, orientation, like whatever, irrelevant. But again, it comes down to
Your actual training.
anatomy.
Yeah.
Male anatomy, female anatomy, and the training, because there's a different technique for male anatomy. Again, nothing to do with your identity or your preference. That's completely separate. But if you are like post-op and you have female parts now, then we'll do a female or a woman Brazilian, right? And that's what like they identify as cool, but it could be the other way around. So basically what we're hitting home on is whatever you're trained in is what you can safely perform, and it has nothing to do with anything else, period, point blank.
So now something a little lighter.
Rapper's delight.
The woman that came in that asked me on Valentine's Day to wax a dolphin into her pubes with her husband's initials in the back of the dolphin.
Wow.
And I'm like, how much time do you think that I have? Like, do I have a stencil? Am I going to be tweezing it? Like, we lay strips in, like,
do I have a laser?
Lines, I can't do the arc. How am I supposed to do the dolphin's fin? What do you expect of me? But just these like outlandish requests from clients where you're like, okay, that we've gotten. So a lot of like initials. Can you do a heart in my pubes? Do you guys do like the tinting, the vajazzling? You obviously have like a very clear list of what services you offer, and then just standing by that. And then again, not making your client feel silly or stupid. I mean, I for sure laughed after the case of like, you want me to do a dolphin in your pubes?
And initials? If you could do that, Rachel.
What? I wouldn't be on this podcast. I'd
be a
like
millionaire.
I know. But just like unreasonable requests in general of, I've had a woman come in that has completely tattooed eyebrows and she wants me to wax off all of the remaining hair, and like there's like alarm bells going off in my whole body. Like, that is wrong. I don't, what if you want those hairs wrong later? Okay. Or like Erica was saying earlier, like you have somebody that requests something that as the professional is not going to look good, or like, can you take these hairs off? I hate these. And then she's like, that's going to give you a completely round eyebrow. And so just giving your professional opinion, educating them as best as possible, and then still trying to find somewhere in the middle that you can meet to make the client happy and provide a good service.
I feel like this really happens the most with eyebrows.
Yeah.
I get a lot of unreasonable requests about eyebrows. Like, I told you this earlier, but like I had a client who had like Pam Anderson 1990s eyebrows, like very thin. Honestly, a lot of us are a victim of the 90s brows. I'm one of them.
Can't tell now.
Right. Thank you. But, she came in and she was blonde and fair complected. And I say that because it has a lot to do with her hair type. And so she's like, yeah, I really love Kim Kardashian's eyebrows. And I'm just like, oh gosh, where are we going with this? And she's like, well, like, I really want her eyebrows. Like, how do we do that? Okay, well, we need to get real here, right? It's like, let's get on a plan. This is not going to happen overnight. This is honestly probably going to be years of training your eyebrow hair. You're probably going to have to use a regenerating serum, castor oil, something of that nature. It's going to require you to feel uncomfortable in between waxes and leaving hairs behind that look sparse or they're like standing up, right? So it's just coaching, and the consultation is crucial. And in our curriculum, we cover consultations for every eyebrow service, like a minor consultation, a male eyebrow consultation, a regrowth consultation. So setting that plan up with your client. So again, we're just getting real about what we can achieve. And also what's just like absolutely not achievable. We're not miracle workers. We can't make your hair grow, just zap and boom, you have Kim Kardashian eyebrows. Not happening.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry. I wish that it
I
worked that
wish.
way.
Again, we'd be millionaires.
Yeah. Another question that comes up is, can my boyfriend come in the room? My boyfriend, can my best friend, is it okay if my mom comes with me? And I always tell these clients, they're welcome to come to your appointment with you if you are in a salon suite or a space where there's somewhere for them to wait.
A lobby.
I do not let anyone except for a child that is within the constraints of a car seat or a stroller come into the room. So when a client will ask if a boyfriend can come in the room.
For a Brazilian
For a Brazilian.
Yeah.
Yes. Like if it's your eyebrow, fine. But I mean, I think it's important to just maintain your policies across the board. Like in where I am now in our salon, my room is small, and every little bit of body temperature matters. So like if I have another person in my room's already warm and now I have more body heat of somebody in the room, I'll say, oh, for sure, he can just wait out here. But there's no reason for an intimate service, anything below the belt, for them to have an audience. Right. It makes the service provider feel uncomfortable. And in every case that we have seen in the entirety of our career, the person that is watching is hyping them up, making them scream, making them laugh. It just derails the whole service. They're like taking videos to be funny. And it's like, it shifts it from this level of professionalism to like horseplay. And you're like, I'm trying to get my job done. You guys are late and you're messing around. Like, no, your friend can wait in the lobby. Your boyfriend can wait in the lobby.
Yeah, I cut it off if they try to do video or anything like that. Like, absolutely not. Because I mean, again, it's like your license at hand. It's a liability. I don't want that on like OnlyFans or something. Like, what? That's so unprofessional. So yeah, just like stand firm on your policies and be consistent across the board.
Yeah. I mean, and to speak on that a little bit further, I had a client that brought her son in, not in a stroller, not in a car seat, in the middle of the service, literally took a shit in the corner of the wax suite.
How old was this child?
Like 3, like pulled pants down, like shit in the corner. And I'm like trying to do my job. We're like laughing because what else are you supposed to do? The client is like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And not even that, like that is the extreme and completely inappropriate and like had to handle. But I've had people come in with kids that are like under my feet. They want to touch the wax. They're messing with my supplies. They're pulling stuff off the shelf. They're crawling under the table. They're trying to climb up on their mom. Their mom is picking them up and like turning and twisting. And it's just, we don't have enough time. We don't book enough time for that. It's a liability. Like, God forbid they touch hot wax or, something terrible happens. But it's truly like, I run a tight ship. My clients are back to back to back. I need to wax them at the time that I said that I would. I don't have time to run over by you getting up to give, pull your child out of like getting into my supplies. And it's just hard. So that is a policy that I maintain of they must be in a car seat or in a stroller, strapped in situation in order for them to come in the room, or they need to be old enough that they can sit in the lobby by themselves. And I don't take any liability of them sitting out in the lobby.
Yeah. Like my policy is no kids.
No kids.
And it's in my text beforehand.
Yeah.
Like,
please don't bring your kids.
Please no children.
Yeah. I think we have a couple more to touch on. This kind of goes back to just like, again, professionalism in the room. We've had coworkers in the past who have had clients who get their Brazilian done and then they asked the service provider to take a photo of their vagina for their boyfriend or husband.
Mhm.
And it's like the outlandish things that you'll hear
Mhm.
and that you have to be able to navigate and say like, oh no, I don't do that. Like you could do that at home, or I don't have time. My next one's here, whatever. But just being prepared for literally anything.
Right. It all goes back to policy. So
Yeah.
anything that you don't want to deal with, honestly, just needs to be in your policy.
Yeah.
Your policy has to be in their hands before the appointment
Yes.
on your website. But yeah, I mean, for me, simply put, it's like,
No
no,
kids.
unfortunately, yeah, no kids, but unfortunately, like I cannot take a photo of you. It's just against my policy. And that statement honestly can save you so
much. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Wow, we covered a lot.
We covered a lot. I'm
I
sure
hope
there's
you learned
things.
some stuff today.
I hope. And
They're
we-
like, oh my gosh, these poor girls.
they're like, never mind, not doing this.
No. Honestly, these scenarios are gathered over 30 years collectively. You know, this is not going to happen to you every single day. They're just like really crazy scenarios, especially the volume of clients we used to deal with in these big salons. And the beautiful thing is, as a business owner, you get to decide who your clients are,
100%.
who you're willing to service, what your policies are. So honestly, these scenarios get like
Less and less.
yeah,
Yeah.
over time. And at the end of the day, just remember, you are the professional. This is your business and your reputation. If you remember those three things, you're going to be in good hands.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching season 2, episode 3 of Wax Pro Uncut.
We'll see you soon.